Hey, what's going on, everybody? Welcome to Castro's Comic Book Corner. Today is the very first episode of the podcast, and today we have Ryan Howitt. He is an amazing, comic book enthusiast and creator, and we are here with him today to discuss his comic book. Please say the name again.
It's called Badger, and
That's
Mike Barron knows about this before anybody says anything. Mike Barron knows about the shared name. It's fine.
Okay. And now, give us a rundown. Who are you? Where are you from? What do you do? Like, what is your passion?
I am from. Well, my name's Ryan Howitt, like he already mentioned. I'm from Eastern Canada, currently living in Fredericton, New Brunswick.
Okay.
And I draw cartoons. I mostly started as a writer. I started writing a lot, like towards the end of middle school, beginning of high school, like just journalism and stuff like that. But then over time, like people's attention spans got shorter and shorter. I'm in my early 30s to give everybody a good idea of the time period I'm talking about.
Yeah.
And it got to a point where like you couldn't really get anybody's attention without having some sort of visual representation. I originally was that guy that anybody who draws knows a handful of people who say, I got this great idea. Can you just do all the work and we'll split the profit? I can't pay you right now. I was that guy. And now I'm on the other side of that, and it's jarring. But yeah.
I totally understand that, man. I went through the same thing, man. What got you into comics? Like, what made you want to do comics specifically?
In all honesty, I taught myself to animate first. I was insanely ambitious. I picked up my brain always goes to Will Eisner now, but that's not who I'm thinking of, obviously. I'm thinking of Richard Williams' book, the Animator's Survival Kit, and I just taught myself using Adobe's at the time it was Adobe Animate. I wasn't doing this a lot like back when I was in school. And I started trying to get an animated web series out and off the ground and running, and I burnt out after about 3 years and kind of put it away. And
did you ever get any of those episodes done, like the web series?
Yeah, I've got like 3 shorts. I'll have to send them to you. They're
please do. That'd be great.
Yeah, that project's dead in the water. It's not a Badger. It's not a fantasy thing or anything like that. It's I don't know what I was doing, honestly. I was going for something closer to the Powerpuff Girls, like slice of life, but like super exaggerated. And I took a lot of liberties. I tried to reinvent the wheel like a jerk.
Dude, I totally understand. When I first started out with Bad Wabbit, I was literally trying to animate it and like illustrate it myself. I had no concept of or idea what it took to make a comic book. I had no idea.
I've seen some of your stuff, like that was up there on the Kickstarter, some of your originals and like concept art and stuff. Like you got chops, man. Like,
well,
don't undersell yourself.
Well, that's why I went with my artist that I have now. His name's Tommy Guns, and that's why I went with him, is because I wasn't confident in my own abilities to make the comic book. But I was getting it. I was trying.
Yeah, well, that's it, right? Like you got a good foundation. It's just a matter of putting the practice in. So.
Yeah, it was definitely like people would see it and they're like, "Oh, this is cool, man," and I'll be like, "But it could be so much cooler."
Right? Yeah, that's always the. But, man, I have a pretty good like working relationship. Colleague might be the word to use. It's really weird in this industry, as I'm sure you know. With Mike Sears, the cartoonist, he's based out of Colorado. He does a series called Rabbit Man.
Okay.
Just recently,
like rabbits.
Yeah, he just recently got a deal with lesser known comics.
Cool.
He's done stuff for me for Badger. I've drawn stuff for him for Rabbit Man, and it's kind of this like back and forth of the like, I want you to do it because I think you're better than I am. Like both of us do that to the other guy. And I think that's how it's supposed to be, though.
I think that's the best way, man, because we are all our worst critics.
Yeah. Oh,
And
absolutely.
you know, and like you write something and you read it and you're like, this is pretty cool, but is it really? And then you have to like get somebody else's input. And even then, I think sometimes I'm like, if somebody say, "Oh, this is really great," and I'm like, "Yeah, but is it really? Are you just being nice?" You know?
Well, I think that's part of the difference because when you're writing something, like you get to hammer it all out, and then you
Uh,
can, and it's advisable even that you step away from it for a couple days, and then you come back and see what you can cut it. You can't really do that with illustration. Like
no,
you're like, I just spent 11 hours working on that. Like that's done. I don't
yeah.
care. That is done. Like I'm not doing it again.
And I don't think
But
a lot of people that are writers don't get that when it comes to animating or illustrating. It's like it's not really revisable. It's not
yeah,
like something you can go back and start over and just be done in a few hours. I mean,
yeah,
it takes
exactly.
hours. I've there's some Bad Wabbit stuff, original stuff that I did that took a week, you know, and it's not even that great. It's just like it takes a while, man. It's an art form, man. And
Yeah, I try to keep it. I loosely monitor myself, and I try to keep it in the ballpark of like doing a page in say like 12 hours. That's from pencil, ink, color, like, and
yeah,
it's like this neurotic thing that I've kind of trained myself to do from research saying that the page rate for the large publishers is about $100 a day, right, or $100 a page.
yeah,
So I'm like, if I'm gonna try to do this and make this on any sort of a schedule or to any professional capacity, I gotta do a page a day, and a work day is like 8 to 12 hours. So
yeah. It
I
is. It's ridiculous.
I pretend there's a gun to the back of my head that's not there. Yeah, pretty much.
No, I
Because
totally get it.
otherwise I'll just be circling and nitpicking. I'll never get anything out.
Oh man, I feel you 100%. So your comic book's called the Badger.
Yeah.
Where did you come up with the concept, the idea for it?
Um, a little bit of it was lifted from well, you know, like the Tolkien fantasy universe, obviously, all that. Uh,
Mm.
I hope I don't end up down the road getting into any legal trouble by saying stuff like this early on, but uh, a fair bit of it was actually lifted from my experience playing Dungeons and Dragons.
Yeah, I had read that in some of the. I had read like 1, 2, and I got partially through 3, and the kids get home. So
Okay.
you know, but yeah, I had read some of that. That a lot of it was based on some of the D&D games you guys have
Yeah.
played. So
Yeah.
that's really cool. I like D&D. I have never personally played it, but I've been trying my best and damnedest to try and get in on a game and play some D&D. Chris Philbrook, who is the editor of my comic book, and he is an amazing author himself, is going to be coming down here in October to
I
sign.
saw that for the signing thing. Yeah.
Yeah,
Yeah. Yeah.
it's
Yeah.
going to be awesome, man. And I'm hoping to Shanghai him into a game of D&D so he can
Nice.
teach me the ropes of it. So I hope to get into on some D&D, man. It's something I always wanted to do, and I just never had the time or the knowledge. You know, like being a DM is like so you have to have so much knowledge of the game
Yeah.
itself, and I just don't have it. Yeah, but yeah, back to your comic book. You said it was based on a lot of D&D stuff. How did you guys decide to make that into an actual comic book?
Actually, it was my fiance kind of pushed me towards that. I had a character that I designed or made up, whatever you want to call it. Uh, God, I don't know, 4 or 5 years ago. But I've always just gone from like running one campaign to I've moved a few times over the past like 10 years. And
Uh-huh.
I'd go from like running one campaign to setting up in a new area with like potentially a lot of times like a new friend group or something like that, and then getting some people together, realizing there's an interest in playing the game, and well, who's going to run the game? All right, so I never get a chance to play this character, and then but I've been carrying this character sheet around with me for like 5 or 6 years. I don't know how many times I've redone it up, and Kristen, she I think it was back like around the time we started dating. I was trying really hard to impress her, and I was like showing her my the animated stuff that I did online. She's like, "Why don't you do cartoons anymore?" I'm like, it's too much of a time sink. Like I didn't really find that much of a return on it. It's too hard to basically, especially with animation, it's too hard to get a lot of attention towards a project because they're so labor intensive and it takes so damn long for one
Oh yeah.
person to make a cartoon, right?
Hmm.
Like I'd spend the better part of like 6 to 8 months working on a project, and then when you're done, like I could go and either jam it down everybody's throats, or I could move on to the next one.
Yeah.
And I really want to do the next one, so I just wouldn't
Exactly.
tell anybody, and I just keep working, and I'm like getting frustrated. So
I know.
anyway, I found a way to tie it all together with comic books, but she was the one who's like, like, why don't you draw anymore? And I'm like, I don't know, I don't have time for that. And then COVID happened,
Yeah.
and
Yeah.
I'm like, well, now I guess I have a fair bit of time for that.
Yeah.
So yeah, that's pretty much it.
No, that as shitty as the COVID thing was, I think it was a blessing for a lot of artists and comic book creators because it gave us so much time to sit around and just kind of do our own thing.
Oh yeah. Well, between it was like there were a couple things, right? Like there was a huge uptick in sales too in like comic books, and I think a lot of that had to do with it had to do with like the relief incentives that the government was dishing out. People kind of, had some people had more money coming in monthly than they've ever seen, and
Yeah,
they just bought fun stuff. But over and above that, there were also a whole bunch of people who got to work from home that couldn't before.
exactly.
So I think that's where a lot of like guys like us kind of popped up. Like, hey,
And
I can draw. I got time, even if I don't work from home. Like, it's not like I can go to the park. I can't do anything.
well,
I'm
see,
stuck here.
just before the COVID thing happened, I was diagnosed with heart failure. I was told I was dying from heart failure. Yeah,
Oh,
yeah, it sucks,
good
but
God.
it is what it is. I mean, it's a degenerative heart disease, and there's nothing I can do about it. So I decided to put all my time and effort into doing what I'm doing, and however long I've got until it's over, I'm gonna fucking do bad wabbit and do what I do. So I'm not taking it as if it hadn't happened, I wouldn't be doing what I'm doing now. So that's basically what
Yeah.
I'm saying. And so I don't look at it as a curse. I'm looking at it as a blessing, and the fact that I got a chance to do what I'm doing, and I'm doing so well at it, and I get the opportunity to bring people like you on here now and spread the love and get their whole thing out there and get them some recognition as well. I mean, that's all what it's about as far as I'm concerned in the indie community. Because if we don't toot our own horns, who's going to do it for us, right?
Yeah, basically. I like one of the things Pop Van Zant said, like I don't remember, it's sometime last year I heard him call it co-opetition.
Yeah,
I like that. I like that a lot.
yeah, I
Yeah.
like it.
Yeah.
Do you, besides Badger, do you have any other projects that you're doing right now?
Not really. No, not at the moment. There was another like one-off that I started about a year ago that was, and this is like something, it will come to fruition, so I'm just gonna say it now. But it was about these two crackheads arguing while they're trying to hide a body in the woods, and I never ended up finishing it. I started it, so I started this thing up. I was really excited about it. I wrote like the first few pages. I did the art and the layout for the first page, like a first draft of it, and I think it was early into me putting out the first issue of Badger, and I don't even know if I had. No, I did. I had Badger 1 had launched, and I pushed that out, and I just jumped and yelled from mountaintops and crammed it down everybody's throat, and I got a fair bit of uh, kickback and like negative feedback. But I've learned since then that when you get a large pool of people, you'll end up with a certain percentage of them that straight up just want to cut people down for the sake of it.
Yeah,
Yeah,
definitely.
I'm basically learning as a 30-year-old man what trolling is. I mean, I always knew what it was, but like anyway.
Well, I've
I
gotten to
ended
the
up just missing that
I've gotten
and
to the
being
point
like,
where it's like if you're enjoying doing it, it doesn't really matter what anybody else says. You know,
yeah, pretty much.
if you're enjoying it, there's going to be your people, and that's going to be
Yep.
the people that love what you're doing, and there's going to be people that are going to hate on you. They're going to piss all over your whatever you're doing, and get the umbrella and keep going, man.
That anybody who's watching this that's thinking about getting into it or starting out, or they're at that point, because there's like I'm gonna call it like a 6 month or so hump where
Yeah,
it's like it's really rough. It's really rough for a few reasons. One, when you're presenting all this stuff to this new group of people, you're gonna find those assholes. You are. They're there. But the longer you keep it up, the more those assholes realize that you're serious and you don't care, and the less of them appear.
yep,
And the other one is you feel like a dick because you like when you're trying to sell it to people in the back of your head, you're thinking, I'm asking people for money solely on the grounds that my imagination is better than theirs. And you got to get that part of your brain to shut up too.
it's called the imposter syndrome. I mean,
Yeah, that's
you know,
exactly it. Yeah.
you find people that are into what you're doing, and I suffer from that, like daily, because I get so many people saying, oh man, I love Bad Wabbit and I love your story, how you've come back from this heart failure and you're doing this now and all this, and I get so many people telling me how much they love it, and sometimes I just sit here and I'm like, but do I really deserve that praise?
Oh man, I know. That's the
It's
worst.
you gotta shove that to the back and just realize that you've done a lot. You've
Yeah,
already jumped over so many hurdles, man. Don't let anybody
exactly.
take that away from you. And it's
Yep.
something, it's something you just got to keep going with. And if you really love it, pursue it no matter what. You don't let anybody take away your lightning. you know, fling that
Pretty
shit.
much.
Fling it.
And if it's really not working, like if that little stupid voice in the back of your head telling you that I think that maybe this isn't the right decision, the market's going to tell you that hard on
Exactly.
its own. On its own.
But even if it happens like that, don't give up. Try something new.
Yeah,
You
exactly.
there's so many avenues out there for you to pursue your dream, and I don't think anybody should ever get like that's the one thing that I learned when they told me about my situation, and I was like, you know what? I've wasted so much of my life trying to get drunk, trying to get high, trying to fuck off, and not do what I was wanting to really, really do in my life. So
Yep, absolutely.
I literally like prism focused my intent on what I wanted to do in life. And it's just so amazing what you can accomplish when you really focus on that dream and just chase it without any regrets, without any letting anybody tell you whether or not you can or can't do it. Just chase it. Someone tells you can't, give them the middle finger and keep going, man,
Yep,
because
just lock the door and draw the thing.
exactly. Is there where can people find you at? That's what I want to know. Where can people find you at as far as like websites, anything like that?
My home base is on the Badger Facebook page.
Okay.
Um, I do have a link tree. I could send that to you if you wanted to put it in like a
Well,
description of the video or something
well, you
like
can
that.
definitely tell people on here, and you can send it to me later if you want.
Okay, yeah. I'm mostly on Facebook. There is I think it's called Canadian Badger. There is a YouTube channel. It's dusty. There's not a lot going on there. I'm gonna start using it again when I get into more like streaming type stuff.
Okay.
Um,
Well, either
uh,
way, if you send me the link, I'm going to put it on with this, so it doesn't matter either way.
okay,
So, but
yeah,
yeah, just send me the link, and I'm going to put it in with the comments or along with the video. Like I said, I'm going to edit this later, and we'll have it on there on my website and all that stuff. So it'll be
hell to
cool,
the yeah.
man. So before we get off, is there anything you'd like to tell anybody? Any specific messages you'd like to put out there for your homies? Some shout outs.
For my homies, yeah, of course. There's always some shout outs. anybody who's into indie comics, specifically like the superhero genre, because I know a lot of people like comic books, really like superhero genre. Check out The Improbable Girl and The Wonder Kitty, which is by Joe, I think he pronounces it Eli Corrales. He's also actually he's from Fremont, Texas. I don't. You guys might bump into each other at some point.
Hey, man, I might have to send him an invite to one of our meet and greets because I'm
Yeah,
in.
do it up. I'll refer you all day long. The second one goes once again to Mike Sears, who I know I already mentioned. I can't remember if we were recording at that point or not, but fantastic cartoonist. Like I'm talking that old school, like Courage the Cowardly Dog Cartoon Network, mid 1990s, like just absurd.
Love it.
You guys check out Rabbit Man or Mouse Man by Mike Sears. Find that wherever you can. Janky Cartoons, I think, is the
I'll definitely be checking out Rabbit Man
studio that he does. Yeah. I'm probably forgetting a whole bunch of people, especially like people down in Texas. I know like Jeffrey Cotton has his publishing company calls Kingdom Comics. He's also based out of Texas. It's like horror anthology type series.
Cool. Yeah,
Not
I got
as
a lot of horror fans and a lot of horror friends. I do the Book Asylum on the weekends with their novelists. See, that's why I started this, was because they're all novelists and stuff, and I do comic books. So I wanted to do something kind of like what they do, but for indie comic book creators. So that's why we're doing this, and they all love horror. I mean, that's their shtick. They love horror. So yeah, definitely, I'll definitely send that their way, man.
Yeah, the what is it? Awful Thoughts. Awful Thoughts is the horror anthology that I know he does, and he does a couple of other series too, but they're kind of slipping my mind at the moment.
It's all good, man.
Yeah.
Well, I appreciate you coming on and hanging out with us. This is the first episode of Castro's Comic Book Corner, and you are our exquisite guest. And I appreciate you having the time to take it to hang out with us, man, and do that thing. You know.
Yeah, more than happy to be invited, and it's nice. It's nice to finally meet you, man.
Yeah,
Like I said, like I'm damn near certain. Like if I wouldn't be surprised if we both stepped our feet in the water of like the indie comic book circuit on Facebook in the same week. That would that wouldn't shock me at all.
No. But that's awesome, man. But that's good, man. That's why we connected, and that's, fate is fate, and I love it. So I appreciate you, Ryan Howitt. And if anybody's out there, go check out the Badger series by Ryan Howitt and get it, put it in your pocket, read that, love it. This is Castro's Comic Book Corner, and I bid you all a fond farewell and have a great, great day. Thank you.
Awesome. Thanks, Anthony.